If you're thinking about a trip to Italy, you probably want to avoid some of the biggest mistakes that tourists make. And I'm not talking about the obvious ones like don't skip Rome or eat the pasta. I'm talking about the sneaky little mistakes that people make that cost them time, money, and could straight up ruin your day. I'm going to show you the 10 biggest mistakes that travelers to Italy make so that you can avoid them, including a few that almost everyone makes on their first trip. And number 10 could cost you hundreds of dollars over your entire trip if you don't know how to do it right. I'm Gary with Optimal Travel. Let's get started. If you look at a map, Italy looks like kind of a tiny country. I thought the first time I went there, I could pretty much do everything in a week. Boy, was I wrong. Italy does not travel small. And too many people plan way too many things, especially on their first trip, that they can't really enjoy it or even get the most out of these places. And you might be able to squeeze in 4 cities on a 1-week trip, but you won't really see those cities. If you try to see too much too quickly, you're going to be spending so much time traveling and on trains, you're going to be exhausted and not even get the full experience of where you're going. The first time I went to Italy, I totally underestimated this. I tried to hit 5 cities in 1 week. I don't even remember what I saw. It was a whitewash. I was spending so much time on the train that when I got to the other city, I had to rush to see things. Sometimes I didn't even make it because the trains were delayed, and I didn't build in any extra time to account for this kind of thing. It's a much better idea to do Italy slowly. In fact, that's how the Italians do things. If you're rushing, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So, depending on the amount of time you're planning for this trip, I would take at least 1 week to just do 2 and maybe 3 cities if one of them's a small one. For example, if you're going to do Florence in Rome, you could squeeze in Pisa because it's nearby Florence and it's not one of the bigger cities. But beyond that, you're going to be stressing. You're not really going to have a great time. Try to do Italy in parts. If you're going to do northern Italy first. If you want to do Rome first, do central Italy first. You definitely don't want to skip a trip to southern Italy, but that can take 2 weeks on its own. Not to mention you've got Sicily and Sardinia. So there's a lot to take in when you're considering Italy.
If you don't see all the cities that you plan to see while you were traveling in Italy, you can always come back.
And if you don't follow this next tip, you could end up with a wasted day. I guess I learned the hard way that Italy is one of the most popular travel destinations in the world. The first time I went, I kind of just winged it. And I started off in Rome. And I thought, I'm going to go and see the Vatican. Little did I know, if you don't book the Vatican well in advance, there are no tickets. You can't get in there unless you pay a private tour company that has reserved spots a ton of money. And well, I wasn't just willing to do that. But then I got married, and my wife is Italian. And she just laughed at me when she heard this story. She said, everybody knows you have to book all these things, the Uffizi Gallery, the Vatican, the Colosseum. These kinds of things fill up fast, especially in the summer months and in the high travel season. So anything that you're planning on doing for your trip, you should book ahead of time, especially if it's a museum, a religious site, or anything that requires an entry ticket. Some things you could get in the same day, but a lot of them you can't, and it's not worth the risk. And if you're doing a trip to Italy, you got to do a lot of planning anyway, so you might as well look these things up and plan out what you can't miss and get those tickets. And there will be things that come up along your trip that you just want to do ad hoc, and some of them will work out, and that's great. But at least you won't miss the key things that you want to see. If you ever couldn't get into a place because you didn't book tickets in advance, let me know where that was. Put it in the comments below. I've gotten packing for Italy wrong so many times I can't count. I'm going to give you 2 examples here. One is the suitcase. Too many American tourists overpack their suitcase. They bring those big 28-inch, 30-inch suitcases, which are a pain to lug around Italy. Keep in mind, when you're going to Italy, you are not staying in one place for a week. You're moving around. So every time you get to that hotel, you might be there 2-3 nights tops. Then you're packing back up and you're going to another hotel by train, having to drag suitcases along cobblestone streets. It's not the easiest thing. In fact, I have a full video on how to pack for Italy right up here if you want to check that out. But the important thing to keep in mind is pack smart, pack light as possible, because you're going to be moving these bags around, and heavy bags, especially if you're a couple, 2 heavy bags is really hard.
I keep overpacking for my trips to Italy, but my husband helps.
And the other thing I kind of learned really quick is you don't want to stick out like a tourist. If you do, you're going to be more vulnerable to scams and hacks. I have a personal friend who was pickpocketed at a train station because he was a clear mark as a tourist. He needed help getting his ticket from the machine, and somehow they got away with his wallet after the fact. He didn't even realize it till he got back to the hotel. So if you want to blend in and not stick out like a sore thumb, don't wear what I'm wearing. Instead, wear this. Italians tend to dress in more solid, earthy tones, more conservatively, and if you dress more like them, you won't stick out and you'll be unlikely to be targeted. And if you do this next thing, you can probably get that same mouth-watering pasta you're craving for half the price. One of my favorite things to do in Italy is eat. And I'm not just talking about the pizzas and the pastas. Almost every region has their own special type of cuisine. Well, not exactly a whole cuisine, but at least a couple of items that are unique to that spot. And even some cities have specific cuisine items that you've got to try. The problem is, if you eat where the tourists eat, you're not going to get the best food. You may not get all the real local delicacies, and you're going to probably pay double the price. Instead, try to notice where the locals are eating. I'll give you a tip. It's not by the Trevi Fountain. It's not where everybody congregates at these tourist spots. It's slightly off the beaten path. You don't have to go far. You go a couple streets over from one of the main attractions, you'll find a more local spot where you can get excellent food, sometimes even better than the tourist spots, at half the price. And a little trick that I use, I make sure I always get an eSIM card for my phone. In fact, if you're interested, I have links to one in my Amazon store in the description. And that way, wherever I am, I can just look up quick reviews of restaurants around me. And you can pretty quickly tell which ones are local places rated highly versus which ones are so-called tourist traps. And when it's time to eat, in Italy, it may not be time to eat. I'll tell you about that next. But first, let me know how you find places to eat when you're out of the country. Put your answer in the comments below. The first time I went to Italy, I was hangry. I think it was my first day, and I was starving at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And I went looking for a restaurant, walking down the street, and everything was closed. And I thought, how can the restaurants be closed? Well, Italian restaurants have a very specific dining schedule. And this is one way you can tell if it's an authentic Italian place or just more of a tourist place. And that is that they will open for lunch, typically around 12 o'clock, maybe 11 if you're lucky, until about 2, 2:30, maybe 3, and then they close. The kitchen closes. The whole restaurant shuts down until maybe 6:30. That's about the earliest you're going to find one open. More like 7 or 7:30 is when they will start opening up again. And this is true throughout the country. So plan your restaurant trips around this schedule. They're not like in the US. They're not open from 11 to 9 at night. They're not open from breakfast till dinner. They open at a very specific schedule. Now, if you just want a cafe or a sandwich, they have the bars, which are essentially cafes, that are open all the time. So they'll open in the morning, they'll stay open till night, and you can go there anytime. But that's really just if you want a sandwich, maybe you want them to heat up a slice of pizza that they made earlier. But if you want a real authentic Italian meal, and even if you want some of those local delicacies, you'll find them at these restaurants that follow the Italian schedule. So you have to get on board with that. And this next item makes a lot of people mad, but in Italy, you just have to have a different mindset. I would have to say the biggest culture shock for me when I go to Italy is that everything runs a lot slower. They're not fast-paced like in America, and they're good with it. They love it that way. So if you go to a restaurant and you're expecting American-style service where they rush out your meal and then they rush to bring you the check so that you can do what you want, pay, and go, that's not how it happens in Italy.
If they don't bring the check, well, there's just more time for aperitivo.
People spend 2 hours at lunch or dinner. And if you are not wanting to do that, that's fine. It's not going to take that long for your food to come out, but you're going to have to either get the waiter's attention, and you can do that just by raising your hand and catching his eye. That's typically how they do it there. They don't call out. Or you can head up right to the casa, the cash register, and ask for il conto, which is the bill, il conto. It's very easy and they'll be happy to give it to you. But Italian waiters actually consider it rude to bring you the bill unless you've asked. So a lot of people fall into this trap. They just sit there and they're like, why isn't this guy bringing the check? Why isn't he bringing the check? Because in America, they always bring it, right? Not in Italy. They want you to take your time and they assume that you will let them know when you're ready to leave and ask for the bill. And two more minor but valid culture shocks that I face and a lot of Americans face is that water is not for free at restaurants. They don't bring out tap water. They will bring out water in a bottle or sparkling water in a bottle, and you have to ask for it and you have to pay for it. And the other thing is, I love ice in my drinks, but in Italy, that's not a thing. In fact, unless the restaurant has a bar, they probably won't even have ice. And if you really want a soda with like ice thrown in there, your best bet is to go to one of the American chains there, like a Burger King or a McDonald's. Otherwise, you're going to be drinking just a soda with no ice. And when you're traveling between cities in Italy, you'll want to make sure you don't make this next mistake. After a few attempts at taking the train in Italy, I did learn that the machines where you can get the tickets out of do have an English language setting, but it's not automatic. It comes up as Italian, and it's not the easiest machine to navigate. So the best way that I have found to take trains throughout Italy is to use their apps. They actually have very good apps for purchasing the tickets and having your electronic tickets on your phone so that you don't need to worry about validating a paper ticket. Some of the trains in Italy, you just have a ticket and you get on and there'll be a conductor or somebody that comes and scans that ticket and you're good to go. Other trains, and especially buses that you might take, you have to validate your ticket before you get on. And if you don't, it could be a violation and you could be fined if they check. Because on these more local trains and buses, there's not always somebody checking your ticket. They spot check people. And you are on the honor system to have the ticket and have it validated. So when you buy that ticket, it's not necessarily validated. But if you have the app on your phone, you just validate it right when you're getting on board. Press a button, boom, you're done. Now, in my description, you will find links to some of the major train providers in Italy that'll probably cover you for where you're going. And you can use those links to download the app on your phone so that you're all prepared ahead of time. And then while Italy is generally considered a very safe country, if you're a tourist, you're a target. Now, because my wife is Italian, I've been there many times, and I've seen my fair share of petty theft go on in the distance. And it's just annoying to see that happen to people. So I always carry my valuables in a hidden pocket. And a must-bring item to any Italy trip for me is a backpack. I have one that has a hidden pocket on the back that faces my back when I'm wearing it. And I put my extra money and all my passports and documents in that pocket. Nobody's getting that off of me. If somebody takes the 10 euros that I got in my front pocket or my back pocket, well, that's just 10 euros. That's not all of the money and the documents I'm carrying with me. And be careful about leaving your phone out. A lot of people I see, they put their phone on the table when they're at a cafe or even a restaurant. And a lot of these have outdoor seatings. And it's pretty easy for a thief to to just run by, spot that, grab it while he's running, and get away. There's nothing really anybody's going to be able to do about that. And even if you try to say something or call out after the guy, he's just going to pretend he doesn't speak English, which leads me to this next item. Most people in Italy have to learn English when they're in school, and most people understand a good bit of it when they are adults. But they don't always want you to assume that, and they don't appreciate it if you just come up straight up speaking English. So it's good before you go to just learn a few standard phrases. One that I learned that really seems to get me a better reception and better service at restaurants is to ask for a table in Italian, and it's very easy to do. All you need to do is say un tavolo, that's a table, un tavolo, per, for, however many, for due, two, tre, three, quattro, four. That's it. If you learn some simple things like that, Italians will respect you a bit more. They're not going to expect you to speak Italian fluently. They're going to immediately convert to English because they know it's easier for you and it makes it easier for them to understand what you're saying. But if you make an effort, it goes a long way.
No matter how much Italian my husband speaks, everybody wants to practice their English with him.
The worst thing you can do is walk into any place and say, does anybody speak English here? Because that's kind of an affront to them. You're in Italy. You should at least make an effort to try a few Italian-friendly phrases. And believe me, most of them speak English, and they'll be happy to do so. They just would appreciate a little reciprocity. And now this next item cost my friend hundreds of dollars, and I wish I would have given him this tip sooner. I'll tell you about that next, but first, if you would take a minute and subscribe to our channel, hit that like button. It helps us grow, and we'll continue bringing you traveling updates. A good friend of mine recently went on a trip to Italy, and he was picking my brain before the trip on different things he should do, places he should go, because he know I've been there quite a bit. And I forgot to tell him this one little trick. It ended up costing him hundreds of dollars. And that is, most of us are going to pay with credit cards for a lot of things on our trip. In fact, there's a law in Italy that all establishments have to take credit cards. So they're kind of getting away from everybody paying in cash. Now, there are still places where you'll want cash, local markets and things like that. However, for the most part, you're going to pay at hotels, you're going to pay at restaurants with a credit card. And here's the trap. Most places where you use your credit card in Italy, the credit card provider is going to give you an option to pay in euros or pay in dollars. So when you swipe or tap your card or even Apple Pay, it's going to say euros or dollars. My friend was like, well, I pay in dollars. I just click dollars. But that's wrong, because when you click pay in dollars, you are paying that company a fee to convert the euros to dollars for you. And it's usually at an exchange rate much higher than what your credit card would do it at. Your best bet is to always pay in euros. You pay in euros, nobody's making a markup off of you. Maybe your credit card company, but their markup is a lot more fair in converting euros to dollars than these companies in Italy. You definitely want to pay in euros. Don't worry about it. Your credit card company will convert that to dollars. And the rate they convert that at will save you hundreds of dollars over the course of your trip. My friend added this up and he couldn't believe how much more he paid than what he thought he was going to be paying based on what he knew the euro to dollar conversion rate was. And beware of ATMs in Italy. This problem gets even worse there. If you put your American bank card in and ask for, say, 250 euros for some spending cash, the machine's going to give you an option to pay for that 250 euros in dollars. And it'll say, let's say, $283 is what they're going to charge you. And they kind of coerce you into taking that option because they say, if you select the euro option, we have no control over what your bank will charge you for this transaction. Well, in my experience, 99% of the time, your bank will charge you much less of a conversion rate. So never choose the option to withdraw in dollars. Withdraw in euros, let your bank do the conversion. You will save hundreds of dollars over the course of the trip if you follow this advice. So now that you won't be making these mistakes on your next trip to Italy, there are a lot of travelers who don't pack right for Italy. I'll tell you how to avoid their mistakes right here.